Have you ever been staring at your breakfast, maybe a bowl of those brightly colored, sugary corn things, and thought to yourself that legally it's in the same category as, say, a piece of fresh asparagus or a pork chop?
I'm going to guess most people probably aren't thinking about federal statutes over their cereal, but you've really hit the nail on the head. We're living in this world where the legal definition of food is, it's almost intentionally absurd.
It's the most high-stakes comedy you can imagine. And look, we're not here to talk about your diet. We're diving into this invisible core flaw that has quietly fueled the chronic disease epidemic for, what, 80 years now? The definitions themselves.
It's the ultimate linguistic sleight of hand. The mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the legal loopholes that let companies sell products that look like food, but are, biologically a long-term problem for your health.
We're starting with the foundational lie, the definition of food.
Okay, let's get into it.
So, to really get the absurdity, we have to go back to 1938, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Before we read the official text, just think about it. How would you define food? You'd probably say something about sustaining life, right? Providing nutrients.
Precisely. Biologically, food is defined by what it does. It sustains life. It helps repair tissues. It provides nourishment. That's the deal. That's the biological contract.
Okay, hold that thought. The legal definition from 1938, it defines food as articles used for or components of any such articles as long as they're labeled and packaged correctly.
It is a true masterpiece of empty language. It defines food as an article that is a component of an article.
It tells you nothing. Nothing about function, nothing about its purpose in your body. It's like saying a car is an article used for or a component of any such vehicular article. It's just gibberish. But if it's so obviously gibberish, why is it there? Why that specific vague language?
Because the vagueness was the entire point. You have to look at what was deliberately left out. They omitted the most critical word, nourishment. And that one omission allowed the definition of food to immediately expand to include all these profitable industrial products that don't nourish you. They just fill you up.
So by defining food only by what it is, an article, instead of what it does nourish, they basically legalized the entire junk food industry before it even got off the ground.
Exactly. That loophole created this huge legally protected gray area. As long as your, highly processed sugary item is labeled correctly, it can sit on the shelf and be legally the same as real food. It lets the industry just completely camouflage the link between eating these ultra-processed things and getting a chronic disease.
And you can't repair your body on industrial calories, we know that. But legally, nobody cares about repair or nourishment. It's just an article.
Functionally, it allows, say, a piece of salmon, which is packed with nutrients, and a bag of colorful flavored corn chips, which is not, to compete on the exact same legal playing field.
Okay, so that sets the stage for the next move, which is redefining what we even think of as good food. If the legal definition is broken, how did they start to reshape what the public saw as healthy? How did we get from quality to just counting?
That brings us straight to what you could call the great calorie illusion. It got really popular around 1980. And this was all about normalizing sugar in breakfast cereals.
But you still hear this all the time. If I'm just trying to manage my weight, isn't a calorie just a calorie?
That idea, that prevailing wisdom, is a huge misconception that was born from this exact strategy. Equating all calories it's the ultimate false equivalency. It treats food like it's just inert fuel, like putting gas in a car. It totally ignores that different foods trigger completely different hormonal responses, different nutrient absorption, inflammation.
So equating a calorie from a can of soda with a calorie from an avocado isn't just simplistic, it's biologically irresponsible.
Correct. The soda triggers a massive insulin spike and gives your body zero useful information for repair. The avocado has healthy fats, fiber. It provides information that tells your body it's full and helps balance your hormones. But under the calorie illusion, the only thing that matters is that number on the label.
And that false equivalency is really the foundation of the whole balanced diet trap.
It is. The argument is simple, right? As long as you balance your calories in and calories out, you'll be fine. But if your in is 50% fake industrial food and 50% real food, you're essentially balancing poison with medicine. It makes zero biological sense, but it works perfectly inside that legal framework where food doesn't have to nourish.
But the strategy didn't just stop at normalizing junk. The next step, what you call the inversion, that was needed to really take over the market. They didn't just make junk look like food, they started making real food look dangerous.
That's the really insidious part. To sell all these subsidized processed grains and sugars, they had to get rid of the competition. For generations, what kept people healthy were these nutrient-dense foods like animal fats, red meat, salt.
And those are the exact things that public health guidelines started labeling as the cause of heart disease and obesity.
They completely flipped the nutritional pyramid. They demonized saturated fats and cholesterol, which are, vital for your cells and for making hormones. They told us to stay away from salt, even though it's essential for your electrolytes. This huge PR campaign basically cleared the market for cheap industrial ingredients while undermining the traditional nutrient-dense diet.
So once they locked down the definition of food and redefined nutrition with the calorie myth, it sounds like they then turned their attention to neutralizing anything that could compete, even nature. Which brings us to medicine and regulatory control, what you call definition creep.
This is where the language game expands beyond the grocery store. What happens when a food starts acting a little too much like a medicine?
So if broccoli prevents a disease, it's technically a drug.
Exactly. The legal definition of a drug is anything intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or, and this is the key part, prevent a disease.
Yeah.
So if you accept that broccoli or certain supplements can prevent an illness, then those things fall under the drug definition and have to deal with the massive regulatory hurdles of the FDA.
That's a huge roadblock. So if a company wants to sell a supplement and make, legitimate science-backed claims about it, they face the same nightmare process as a pharmaceutical company.
It creates an almost impossible barrier. And a lot of sources suggest this system really acts as a gatekeeper, protecting the monopoly of big pharma by using these definitions to shut down competing natural health claims. Even if there's good data behind them, whoever controls the definitions controls the solutions.
And we see the same kind of manipulation when we look at something like the redefinition of vaccine.
A classic example of removing function from the definition. The original definition was strong. It was stimulating the immune system to produce immunity to a disease and protect that person. The goal was clear: immunity.
And the new updated legal definition?
It was changed to a preparation used to stimulate the body's immune response against diseases.
Wow. Removing the phrase "to produce immunity" it's a subtle change, but it feels massive.
It shifts the entire equation. Now, a product is legally effective if it just creates an immune response, something you can measure, regardless of whether that response actually leads to real, lasting protection. It basically removes the need for the product to actually work toward the ultimate goal.
It's just breathtaking how a few words can totally change the legal reality of something. They win the war before the debate even begins.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, the goal of this definition creep is always to broaden the market for pharmaceuticals, which brings us to disease inflation.
Disease inflation. Sounds like they're just manufacturing more customers.
That's exactly what happens when you broaden the definition of a disease to include risk factors as actual diseases. Take osteopenia. It used to be seen as a pre-osteoporosis state, a warning sign. Now is often classified as a disease itself.
So instead of treating a risk, you're treating a defined disease, which of course creates a prescription pipeline.
It's brilliant in a way. Ethically questionable, but brilliant. This broadening creates a massive opportunity for yearly screenings, and it puts huge numbers of healthy but at-risk people on chronic medication right away. You're treating the statistical chance of getting sick, which maximizes the time people spend in the drug market.
And then, just to make sure literally everyone is a potential customer, we get this ultimate, unreachable goal for health as redefined by the World Health Organization.
Yes, the WHO definition. They defined health as complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease.
Complete well-being. I think I might have had that for about 5 minutes once. I mean, that's an impossible standard.
That's the key. Almost nobody can fit that definition of complete well-being for any real amount of time. And think about what that means. If you aren't completely well, socially or mentally, you are, by definition, not healthy. This creates a never-ending astronomical demand for drugs and therapies because you're always trying to reach this impossible state of perfection. The treadmill never stops.
When really we should be defining health by resilience, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. A better, more practical definition is the capacity to adapt and repair, physically, mentally, and socially. That definition accepts that life is stressful, but health is about the body's incredible ability to bounce back.
Okay, so we've got the linguistic mechanism down. Now let's connect it right to the listener's wallet. Because we are actively paying to keep this whole system running. We're subsidizing chronic disease.
The money trail is pretty sobering, and it shows you who really benefits. Taxpayer dollars, your money, gets funneled through the system, supposedly to help farmers. But the vast majority, we're talking billions, goes to the top 10% of the wealthiest industrial farmers, not the small family farms growing real food.
So the people who need it the least get the most. And where does all that cash actually go?
It goes directly into fueling the industrial calorie complex. A huge chunk, about a third of those subsidies, goes to industrial crops, specifically for fuel, like ethanol from corn and, of course, high fructose corn syrup.
Which makes the raw materials for junk food dirt cheap.
Think about the dollar soda example. The corn syrup in that drink might only cost 2 cents because the raw ingredient is being artificially cheapened by your tax dollars. Big food benefits massively because the market is flooded with these ultra-cheap subsidized calories.
Wait, so we pay to make the ingredients cheap? That's payment number one. But I saw a really shocking detail about crop insurance. We pay for their safety net, too.
Yes, the public pays for 60% of the crop insurance premiums for these huge industrial farms. You are literally paying for the safety net that makes sure the industrial food system is stable and profitable even if their crops fail. It is a stunning example of paying twice for the calories that make us sick.
That is just offensively circular.
Hmm.
We pay to make the poison cheap, and we pay to insure the people making the poison. And now the system's getting even more locked in, with insurance itself maybe starting to pay for junk food.
That's right. We're seeing proposals where insurance programs would cover the cost of these industrial calories, these ultra-processed foods, which just further normalizes and financially supports the junk food industry inside our healthcare system.
And finally, there's this planetary health diet initiative. It sounds so good on the surface, right? Responsible, sustainable. What's the real agenda there?
It's the Trojan horse. While it's all framed in terms of sustainability, the core goal that's been described is to push consumers towards very specific industrial products. Lab-grown meat, soy protein, and these highly processed plant-based alternatives.
And the flip side of that is the continued push to get rid of animal meat, which can be an incredibly nutrient-dense source of actual health.
Exactly. It's about using the definition of sustainability to bring in a new, highly controlled, patented, and very profitable industrial food system, completely redefining what healthy eating means under this huge global banner.
So after this deep dive, the takeaway is just, it's undeniable. Whoever owns the definitions owns reality. And these intentionally vague or manipulated definitions of food, drugs, and disease are the engine driving chronic illness and market expansion.
Absolutely. But this isn't an irreversible situation. The solutions are really just about reversing these linguistic loopholes. It's about realigning the incentives.
So what are the concrete steps? What do we need to demand to fix this?
First, we need a legal redefinition of food that's based on biological truth. It should require industry to prove nourishment, not just that the packaging is correct. Second, we have to create a clear legal definition for ultra-processed food, which right now is treated no differently than real food.
And if they're not going to stop selling these addictive products, we treat them like what they are.
Treat them like tobacco. Put prominent warning labels on them that tell people the actual health risks. But maybe the most powerful step is financial, the simple change in subsidies.
Switching those billions of taxpayer dollars from supporting corn for ethanol and high fructose corn syrup, and instead redirecting that money to farmers who are growing real, biologically defined food, making true nourishment affordable for everybody.
The cost of cheap food is our health, and we pay for it not just at the grocery store, but again through our taxes and insurance premiums when we get sick.
We currently use our tax dollars to reward the junk food industry for giving us chronic disease. The entire system is perfectly designed to reward the poison. So the question you have to take with you is, should we continue to reward an industry for selling us something that legally qualifies as food, but biologically qualifies as a liability?